You need to sell some of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Model Club TV. You just saw or heard our new intro. Yeah. Talk the girlfriend, talk Jamie into doing that. And I think that's pretty familiar to many of us. Scott, what'd you think?
I liked it. My standard thing is I get how much did you pay for that? My standard answer is $1. So doesn't matter how big the box is, how small the box is. The standard answer for that is $1.
That's a good answer. That is a really good
she's
answer.
Buying it, but yeah,
no, especially with some of those huge boxes you get with those pre-paints.
Yeah.
What does she collect anything? Does your wife collect anything?
Husbands, and I'm number 3.
Nice.
No, I'm just kidding. No, she doesn't.
She doesn't.
Yeah,
I get
Nielsen
lucky.
ratings.
Yeah, I get I get lucky because she collects things, so she can't say anything about me buying stuff. So it's good. It's nice and fair. So anyway, hello everybody. This is our new episode. This episode, the topic is a little boring, probably for some of you, unless you really like us. And the episode is about the history of us, basically. I kind of figured we needed to do this episode at one point to kind of explain to people who we are and why we're doing this. And we figured best to get it out of the way now and over with so that we don't look that ridiculous like 50 episodes on, if we make it that far, explaining who we are. So that'll be the topic today. But other than that, Scott, you've been anything new in the world of Scott?
Anything new in the world of Scott?
How's work?
No, nothing new in the world of Scott. Work is still hell. No, nothing new in the world of Scott.
Okay, I'm kind of going through the same thing. Work is about to kick off here, and
the most excitement I have is the male pumpkin plants in my little pumpkin patch have started to get pollinated, and
Sweet.
I think we have about 6 pumpkins in our garden.
Now, do you guard them from squirrels or anything?
They don't bother the closed pumpkins.
Okay. Because every time I've done it, like, they try to eat them. Something eats them. Like the strawberries I got going. Something eats them every time.
Yeah, they'll eat the strawberries. And that's gardening, Model Club gardening.
Yeah, there's our tip. Yeah, no, I'm about to go back to work too. So everything's going to, again, I said it before, I'm a teacher. And it's a mess. It's a mess. I'll leave it at that. But in terms of anything else, I started watching The Witcher on Netflix. That show is cool. And I'll probably go into more why I think it's cool later on in this episode. But if you like nudity, that's a show for you. If you like, there's some really cool kid ideas in there. And I'm not even kidding. Like, for those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not all the way finished with it yet, but there are some cool monsters in that show. And they deserve kids. But yeah, watch The Witcher on Netflix if you get a chance. Pretty cool show. Other than that, nothing new. Nothing new at all.
I've been watching Star Trek: The Next Generation from season 1, episode 1. So I'm into season 3 now, when it actually started to get good. And we'll get some comments about that, I'm sure.
Is Tasha dead yet? When did she die?
She died in season 1, and now you ruined it for anyone that's never seen the show. So
Spoiler alert, what, 30 years on? 20 years on?
So, if we want to talk about TV more, we probably need to have my wife on because she watches more than I do. When she watches Hoarders, I want to run out of the room because I wonder if that's
me. She watches Hoarders too, my girlfriend. And Lifetime, all the time. Nonstop. A lot of murder on that show. It always looks like it's going to be a porn, and it's not. So I go in there, are they going to make out? And they never do. So I don't know. Anyway, back to Model Club TV. Anyway, we're going to move on to the workbench. Scott, you working on anything? Did you finish the ashtray?
I did finish the ashtray, and I actually took a picture of it. I should have sent it to you so you could put it up.
Dang.
But yes, the ashtray is. The ashtray was a success.
Good. What about the Tiny Terror?
The ashtray was a success.
Oh my god! All right, awesome. As far as me, and I apologize to our listeners and viewers. This segment will get a little more interesting later on when I have time to work on stuff. I've been working on the podcast more than anything still, and I said this a while back, trying to figure out new microphones and I have stuff coming in on back order and other stuff's showing up now, and I'm trying to work on both of us getting the same sound quality and equipment, and learning how to do all this stuff takes a ton of work. What is that? What
I'm showing my microphone.
That's your microphone.
Yeah.
That is the most bootleg microphone I think I've ever seen. Taped.
Came with my Gateway computer in 1998.
That's you know what? That's vintage, and you could probably pick it up somewhere for cheap. But yeah, no, I did work on. I ended up having to customize some little people for Jamie and turn some Fisher Price little people into Santa and Mrs. Claus for a friend of hers. I'm still working on my ghost. I got a little further on that. I worked on the arm part. I can pop that up real quick. I worked on the arm, the skeleton arm, and repaired the rabbit. That's ready to go. And I want to get back to making stuff for me, but so far the workbench has been pretty boring. And again, I apologize for that. Nothing else?
There are those that are going to ask what was in the box when you opened it in the intro, so you might want to explain that.
You know what? Let's leave that Easter egg. They have to figure it out.
Okay.
Leave it in the comments. Anyone, if you know what was in that box, what those pieces were, I'll let you know if you're correct. But
yeah. And the first one that says VHS tape is out. Yeah. You're out.
No,
you're gone.
A couple of those pieces are deep dives. They're going to be hard to figure out for a couple people. But anyway, news and reviews. Let's start with reviews. I actually have one for once. I got this kit back in, I think it came out in April, but it's been sitting back there. And I was like, oh man, I haven't even talked about that. I haven't done a video on my own channel for it, but here's the box. It is the Who Goes There Monster by Simon Lee. I'm going to pull a picture up of it real quick. And I love Simon Lee. He was one of us from the beginning, and then ended up getting, super famous doing stuff for movies and the Godzilla movies and all. He's an amazing sculptor, really kind of loose and fluid, which I kind of like when it comes to things. There's not anything he can't do, and he makes everything look just super creepy. And this kit alone, I thought it would be a little bigger, if that's the only knock I have on it. Otherwise, it's awesome. Like, there are scales, slimy bits, scaly bits, hairy bits. Like, it is just an amalgamation of tons of different things. And it is a creepy looking monster. And that's kind of what I like to do. So it's perfect. It's right in my wheelhouse. It's a great kit. If you get a chance, I know it's sold out, but I have a feeling there's a waiting list for some of that stuff. But yeah, the Who Goes There Monster is awesome by Simon Lee. BigBlueTree.com is his website if you want to give it a check it out. Other than that, that was that. I did pick up a new paint, and this kind of goes into my news section. This is Technical Tesseract Glow, and it's supposed to simulate glowing. Like when it dries, it's supposed to look like it's glowing. It's a miniature paint based on the new Warhammer stuff that came out this past week, which kind of brings into my one little bit of news. Trevor had mentioned in our comments last week when we were with the Terry interview about the hobby dying, but he talked more about it changing. And after this past, I had gone out to St. Louis over the weekend, and there was a hobby store, and not even a hobby store, it's a game store, and it's called Miniature Market. And it made me realize he's absolutely right. That store was one of the coolest stores I've been in a long time. And I found another one in Peoria, and I cannot remember the name of it right now. But it has taken the place of a hobby store. They had paint, they had spray paint, they had airbrushes, they had airbrush paint, they had all sorts of miniatures, gaming materials, you name it, pigments for powder for weathering, like all that stuff that you would normally use for model kits. But if you could do that stuff, if we could get some resin kits in those stores, I think it might go a long way. But it really just there just aren't a lot of us left. There are tons of people doing the miniature stuff. But if you're ever in St. Louis, check out Miniature Market. It was a really cool store. Um, it didn't smell like, you know what I mean? Because I it was clean. It was the cleanest hobby slash game store I've ever been in my life. And I I don't know how to we stink sometimes. There's people in our group that just we sit around a model but this place was awesome. It was really clean, really cool. And yeah, check it out. Miniature Market. They do have a
Well, how
website.
did that compare to like a Games Workshop?
Games Workshop is
I've never even been in Games Workshop.
okay. The way the Games Workshop retail shops are tiny, they're small, and they sell only Games Workshop brand stuff. This place was huge and sold stuff from everybody. And there's a lot of I'm finding more and more of those kind of independent stockist places are they got some cool stuff in there, and they do have some larger scale things. And I just don't think there's enough cross pollination where people see they don't think they know about us at all. Like they have no idea there's people out there making Dracula models. They just see their miniatures and the busts and stuff, and they have no idea we exist. Which is kind of what I hope this opens up a little bit, and some of those people find us, and kind of know. And I don't know, it's good for everybody in the long run because I go buy paint there all the time. But I don't know. Miniatures are weird. It's weird that we always stick with our own kind, but I don't know. Other news. You want to talk about the rough topic real quick?
No, I don't want to talk about the rough topic.
The other big
So,
news.
I
Garage Kit
guess the
Land.
big news
Yeah.
is as we discussed in our last episode with Terry Webb about the John Tucky auction. There is a model producer that bought a lot of it, most of it, all of it. Not exactly sure how much of it he got. I know there's some dispute as far as ownership, which you and I had talked. We don't really want to take a side.
Yeah,
We'd like to hear both
yeah.
sides, but it's going to be a hot button issue. I think maybe not. Maybe it'll work itself out.
And I think you had the best advice, John. John could have fixed this problem with
Yes.
being more clear, with some of that stuff. And it goes back to what we talked about last week. Make everybody know what you want done with your things. It would solve a lot of problems later on for a lot of people.
Right.
And I mean, we might get more into it in the future. I know we have some plans for a couple things, but we'll see.
If you're a single person with no spouse and no children and no anybody that knows what your stuff is, man, get a will or get a friend that knows what's going on, and get a. I mean, you have to get things legal. You have to get things notarized. You have to get things legally done, and it's going to cost you a few dollars, but it's at least something. I wonder out of the auction how much money actually even goes to the estate by the time everybody gets their fingers in the pie from the county and
yeah.
So
yeah.
Again, like we talked last time, just man, get your stuff together, get it, make sure your family at least knows who to call. And again, if you are a single person with no anybody, man, try to get it together. If it bothers you, if you don't care what happens to your stuff, that's okay too, I guess. To each their own. But.
Yeah. Not to go dark 2 episodes in a row, but man, it's tough. And I even when you go and look at the comments from last week on the episode, there's some stuff in there that I did not expect. And my heart goes out to those people who are kind of struggling with things. And yeah, it's awful. it's a tough thing to think about, but we all get there at some point. So, and it's easier to, make it easy for your family instead of making it tough, or even not even just your family, make it easy for the community, because this is going to be, it's going to get ugly. I think, I hope not, but it could have been fixed, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Right. It could turn into what I call a shit show.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because there's some good stuff out there that I'd like to see reissued for people. I have most of what I wanted because I bought it when it came out, but
Yeah. And again, for me personally, I think we talked about it before too. I side on the let it go. Like, I want to see new stuff, and those kits are great. They're a marker in time, but you could always make good new stuff. And I don't know. Let's see how it shakes out. We wish everyone the best, and we hope everyone gets what they want. I hope.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. But that was the other. Yeah, that's the one big bit of news of Garage Kit Land. I don't know.
And I've not received a report from our fan club president, Charlie Robson. So I don't know how many actual members are in the fan club. But we have to mention 3. Charlie every episode now. So there it is. That's it. Charlie, you can turn it off now if you want and go to bed.
Hey, those baby pictures he's been sharing. He's got his hands full. But that's awesome. Love to see people procreate. It's good.
Yeah,
especially modelers.
Make some modelers, mini modelers.
So yeah, as far as news, I can't think of anything else that really happened this week. That was the big buzz. So wow. All around.
Yeah, it's a slow couple weeks here.
Yeah, so. It usually is about now, right? Like, because everyone be gearing up for Jersey. Right. Oh, that's the bit of news. Nothing on Wonderfest yet. Nothing.
No, nothing as of tonight. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, and this will probably go out in a couple days. So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't see it happening. I think they're waiting for the state to make the decision for them. And maybe that's a contractual thing. Maybe they need that to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it. So it's only speculation on my part.
But. And for those people wondering about the Model Club contest, we're still planning on it. If it happens in October, if it doesn't, we may be moving it to an online sort of thing. I got to talk to Steve and some other people about it, and we'll get through that. I don't know if it's fair for me to enter if we do it online. So I don't know. That's another huge mess, and we'll get to it when we get there. But wow, yeah, a lot of just. Ugh.
Did I mention the Wacky Racers kits last episode?
No, you did not.
That were being reissued. They were the old MPC Wacky Racers kits. Dick Dastardly's Mean Machine and Penelope Pitstop's Compact Pussycat. And these are little snap together kits. There were 4 total, so they're going to do the first 2. Round 2 or whoever is doing MPC, and they are available on Steve Iverson's Cult TV Man Hobby Shop.
Oh, I did see those. Those look pretty cool.
And those were big for me when I was a kid. I loved that show.
Dude, Muttley was the best. Muttley still is the best.
Muttley is still the best. See, I love it when you give me props and you don't even realize you are. Check that guy out. That's a little eraser, a little cereal premium from.
Good old Muttley. Best laugh in all of cartoons.
And then somewhere up here, here.
Uh-oh.
Man, look how this works out. Hold on. Sorry, everyone has to look at my fat self. We can edit this out.
Look away. Look away.
But the Compact Pussycat.
Nice.
And the Dick Dastardly Mean Machine.
So I think this might be a good segue. You like the cartoons.
You like the cartoons.
That's, and we're going to get into it. Right? Let's move on. Let's go to that. The history of us and how we got into this hobby. We're going to start with you. Just because that's how the pictures we picked laid out. But anyway, we're basically going to interview each other in a weird, and this could go horribly wrong, or it could end up being okay. But it was something I felt we needed to get done. Scott, how'd you get started? What's your
Well,
first modeling memory? Let's
so
start
my
with that.
first modeling memory is, and I don't know if you're running photos yet, but if you are,
Tell me when you want it up.
you start the first one. And my first modeling memory is a long box creature from the Black Lagoon. And I was probably 5, okay, which would have made it about 68. My brother was 7 years older, and so he had famous monsters.
Wait, let's stop right there. How old are you?
57.
You're 57. I'm 40, about to be 46. So give everybody kind of the age difference. We're about, what, 10 years apart? If my math is right. Okay.
Okay, the
All right.
teacher can't do
Yeah.
math. Go figure.
I'm an
Yeah,
art teacher.
thank God.
All right,
So-
long box creature. Sorry.
So I had a long box. So my brother was a monster kid, got me into monsters. And he would always tell me which monsters were cool. So whatever, at this point in time, maybe the creature was his cool monster. And so I got the long box creature. That's not mine that we're showing, obviously, but that is the first one I remember getting. Now I didn't build that. What would happen is my dad would build them for me. And I would tell him, don't glue them to the bases because I want to play with them. Okay. Because understand, when I was young, there were no action figures of any of this stuff. There was nothing. So if you wanted monsters, that's what you had. So that's kind of my first memory.
What was the first action figure besides G.I. Joe? Was it G.I. Joe? Like what came out and like kind of like what was the first action
Probably.
figure you remember having?
That I remember having is a G.I. Joe, yes.
Okay.
And again, it was my brother's G.I. Joe.
How'd your brother get
the
all the cool
first-
stuff?
The first G.I. Joe that I ever got was that Curse of the Mummies tomb set. And it had, or Curse some mummy set, and it had a little sarcophagus and a 3-wheel buggy like the Banana Splits had. And then I got a G.I. Joe with lifelike hair.
Oh, cool.
And it was lifelike hair. Yeah. But so anyway, but there were no monsters. So that was my first. And I remember the building is still there. It was a Toys R Us up on the north side. And I was out with my parents, and they sent me in with my brother to get it. And I remember the stacks, what seemed to me as a little guy, to the ceiling of long box Aurora kits.
So I kind of have a similar story. I'm not going in, but Toys R Us, and I hope everyone kind of gets that same nostalgia feel in talking about this. When I think of Toys R Us, I remember, what were they like? The colored 4x6s on the front of the store. Is that what it looked like when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, it was Bargain Town. So it was red and white. And it was the children's Bargain Town. And then their slogan was Toys R Us.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know when they changed to Toys R Us. This is before you. But prior to when I went and got this, it was Bargain Town.
See, I never knew that. So I learned something. I never knew the Bargain Town thing.
And maybe when we do the editing, you could probably find an old ad and maybe stick it up here.
Yeah.
An old Bargain Town ad.
So, but I remember the same thing. Like when you would go into Toys R Us, there was a model aisle. And the things I remember specifically from the and this will age me a bit. I remember seeing at the top of the shelf, because like you just said, it was so tall you couldn't reach it. And it looked like it was hitting the ceiling. But at the top was the Sakuda, am I saying it right? Terror Dog from Ghostbusters. I don't know why I just blanked out there. Ghostbusters. I remember seeing a creature from the Black Lagoon. Was it Billiken, or was there a Sakuda one?
That was same.
Same. So,
Yeah.
but there was it was a colored box, I remember, because you could see the creature on the outside. And then the Stave Puft Marshmallow Man model was up there. But in between there, and then the giant T-Rex. Was it Aurora or Monogram? I remember always seeing that in Toys R Us.
By then it was probably Monogram.
Yeah, and I was just like, man. And we kind of have a similar story there. And for people who don't know, Scott and I both live in the same area. We're both Chicago suburb, Chicago city kids, people. We're over by there, and we eat our dogs with no ketchup on that hot dog. And you were on the north side. All right, that's where you were.
But I
Go
have
ahead.
learned that Jason puts ketchup on just about everything else.
No, that isn't true.
That-
That
That's
is
not what I
true.
heard.
That's
That's
she's
not what I heard.
she's lying.
You
I
go
put
through ketchup like toilet paper.
that is true. I put
Yeah.
a lot of ketchup on things. I use a lot. My brother puts it on everything. I put it on like two weird things: pizza and potato chips. But anyway,
Pizza don't have enough tomato sauce on it.
anyway, go ahead. Toys R
Okay,
Us.
so if you want to go to photo number 2,
Photo
this
number
was
2.
the second kit that I ever got, and I thought this was cool because it had the glow in the dark parts, and so I didn't put the glow in the dark feet on because I thought, well, that doesn't make sense, but I did use the hands and the head. And it was still the gray original plastic that the original Frankenstein was molded in. And it still was a long box.
Yeah.
And another building that's still there, it was a drugstore in Harvey where I grew up. And the building's still there. It's not the same business. And I also used to get King Kong, Dunross King Kong cards, which I have a whole set of too, for a nickel a pack there. And my brother built that one for me. And then if you want to go to number 3, after that, it started to become the glow kits because that was right around the transition, in the 70, I want to say 69, 70 were the first square box.
So could
glow
you explain
kits.
the glow kits to me? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
What don't you get?
Why? Like, I don't understand, because if you're me, I want something to look like the monster from the movie. You know what I mean? And I don't get why you would want a glow in the dark thing that doesn't look like the monster from the movie. I get maybe as a kid, like, ooh, cool, this thing glows in the dark. Is that what it was?
Well, so the Frankenstein, to me, Frankenstein was green. So the green hands and head worked. And again, my brother built that for me. So I didn't build it. And we didn't paint it or anything, but it was at least cool that his head was green and his hands were green. And so, and I'm just looking over at the kid on my screen. So that's what was cool. Aurora then went to the glows. Why they chose to do that? Maybe it was a gimmick, to try to
to bring them
sell
back.
them. Which
Yeah.
I got to say, for 5 years, those things, 5, 6 years, almost 7 maybe. You could find those things in Kmart, drugstores, Osco. We have Jewel Osco here. I used to see him in Osco. Sears, J.C. Penney's. I saw Aurora models just about everywhere for sale. Grocery store. I remember my grocery store would sell models, and you'd see model kits there. So my next foray in was, I believe, then I started to get in. I thought Godzilla was cool. And Channel 32 used to show a movie of the week, and it was at 10:30 every night, and it was the same movie all week. They show the same movie all week.
Wait, what?
And
No.
Channel 32 here was the
what year was
UHF
that?
channel.
What year?
Well, let's see. I have to say it was probably prior to 1971.
Okay.
Because we moved from the house that I remember this all in.
So still not born yet. That's why I don't remember it.
That's why you don't remember this,
Okay.
right? And so I started to get into Godzilla. So I got the Godzilla. And again, the Godzilla was a great toy because it stood by itself. The pose was cool. And you could use toy tanks, toy cars, whatever, little army men, and just you could have a ball with the Godzilla. So again, I told my dad, don't glue it to the base. And the sad thing was my dad worked nights. So I never saw him. So when I got a model kit, he would build it for me when he got home from work, and I was sound asleep. So when I got up in the morning, it was sitting there built.
So you still weren't building your kits way back
but
then.
I still wasn't building. I still wasn't. So,
that's where it comes from. Lance, we now know.
Right.
Where
so
it
there
comes
we go.
from.
So then someone had given me a couple, I think they were Lindbergh dinosaurs. They were purple, a Triceratops. And I could be wrong. If someone knows, correct me. and a Land of the Giants snake, which I wasn't really interested in. But I had some glue left over, and I remember asking my mom. So I was probably at this point 7 or 8 years old, and I remember asking my mom, "Hey, can I glue these? Try this?" And she said, "Yeah, but of course, mothers back then was put newspaper down. It's like you were a puppy. Put
Yeah.
newspaper down." So I built the dinosaur first, and they were pretty simple kits. And then I actually built this Land of the Giants. I didn't paint it or anything; I just put it together. And I remember everything I was taught. Don't get glue on everything. And all that. So once I did that, my dad never had to build another kit for me again. And then as we moved to our next house in Dalton, over the years, I probably had a lot of these glow kits 2 and 3 times, and started painting them with the old. The story's the same for all of us: testers, enamel, whatever color we could find. Sometimes whatever color you had, and I used to play with these things like they were action figures, and I would just play with them, and it was awesome. So moving to the next lovely picture of myself, somewhere in the mid '80s, I decided I wanted to get all these kits again, and I discovered John F. Green. And did you know John F. Green, or is that still before your time?
It's still before my time. That is a wonderful picture of young Johansson.
That is about.
I love that mustache.
I was styling, man. Excuse me. So I started buying these things, and at the time, you were still getting them relatively inexpensive. I bought a mint in the box original Hulk model from John F. Green for $29, sealed. And like an idiot, I opened it. But so I got into collecting all the Auroras, and so I got to where I got all the original superheroes, and I got all the glow monsters. And I went for original superheroes because they had the emblems molded in and stuff like that, where the reissues, the comic scenes reissues didn't. So when I started collecting, I went for that. And in that picture, you will see probably one of the rarest plastic kits of all time in my hands. That's an original King Kong Thronester. I actually molded and cast that. Yes, I was a recaster, and sold resin copies of that.
Why was it so rare?
I don't know that in the Godzilla's Go-Kart. And even the other monster rods were rarer, but those two were the last two. And I think they were out for 1 year. And I don't know that they were highly, sought after or distributed even. So most of the kits that were like that, like the Wonder Woman and the Bride of Frankenstein, that weren't reissued or anything like that, or didn't have a real big distribution, are the ones that were worth more over time. And I actually owned a Godzilla's Go-Kart as well. It was a build-up that was disassembled, but I'm one of the few people I know that owned all the monster rods at one time. There's probably more guys out there that do. I've never seen a boxed Godzilla's Go-Kart ever in my life.
Really?
And I've seen just about every rare Aurora kit there is. I've seen photos, obviously, now, but I've never seen one physically that I could put my hands on.
What do those go for these days?
I can tell you, in 1989, I paid $1,200 for that King Kong Thronester. In 1989.
That one?
That one.
Wow.
I would venture to guess that kit, in the condition that was in right now, I would say that King Kong Thronester would probably fetch $5,000 to $7,000 in that condition.
Are you what?
And the last mint and box Godzilla's Go-Kart that sold on eBay went for over $10,000.
All right, I gotta start digging in garage sales. What?
So
the other cool thing about that picture, real quick, and for those of you listening, there is an animal Muppet puppet sitting behind him on a shelf. I want that so bad. Anyway,
I'm going to will it to you.
Okay.
You know what?
Yes.
I'm going to will it to you. I'm not going to let it go to auction. Okay? It's not going to go to auction. I'm going to will it to you.
All right.
So from there, that was about 1989. In 1992, that lovely thing that a lot of us have probably gone through called a divorce happened. And the funny thing about collecting Aurora kits is I was going to build them all because but then you realize you killed their value by building them. So you decided, oh shit, I can't build them. So it kind of got to a point where it was a stagnant collection because I had all of the kits I wanted. And so I got divorced, needed some money, and I sold all my Aurora kits,
Oh man.
including the one in that photo, to Bill Brugman of Model and Toy Collector. And in a McDonald's parking lot in Ohio, I met him. And Gordy was with him. Gordy Dutt was
Really?
with him.
Okay.
And yeah, we had, I think it was about a $9,000 or $10,000 transaction. Even at that time, it was a big, and Bill wrote a check and I trusted it because, he was so well known. And yeah, that was my down payment on my townhouse when I got divorced. And
Man.
it was around that time too, I sold my comics, so I got out of that. So around 1995, my friend Kurt Krause, who I've mentioned on here a couple times, and you can switch to the next picture if you want, drugged me to this little thing called Wonderfest down in Louisville, Kentucky. And we went down there, we got up at 4 a.m. and drove down there that morning. And I think I was doing about 95, so I think we made it in about 3.5 hours. And I just brought about $200 to spend just in case. And he really wanted to go. I was just along for the ride. And I had known a few of the people. I was aware of Garage Kits at the time and had a few, but at that point I wasn't that deep into it. And so at this show, a couple things happened. I met Mike Parks for the first time and bought probably about 7 of those Tiny Terrors that are on that sheet that you see right there. Frankenstein, Dracula, The Bride, Creature.
What are we looking
Wolfman.
at though? Was this an ad?
This is an ad, yeah. And thanks, Trevor. I pulled it off your website. Don't kill me. So I bought a bunch of those from him, and I said, well, if I'm going to get into this, these would be good practice pieces. And then I came across the if you go to the next picture, that's another item I bought at the first one, the first Model Mania video. And I was
I'm surprised
enticed.
that was out at the first Wonderfest we went to.
Yes. I think it had just
come out or something. Okay.
Right. And I think they were on issue 1 or 2.
2, I think, or 1. Yeah.
I bought them all there. And
Okay.
I had to send in for the 0. So I had to send in for the 0 because I didn't have that there. But I bought them all there and I subscribed. And I remember seeing the Janus Man of 1,000 Faces there for the first time. And I think David Fisher did their paint up for him. And I remember seeing the pinstripes painted on the pants, and I was just so blown away. And I said, this stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
And
that video, when you watch it for the first time, back then, because there was none of this, there was no YouTube. Right. You couldn't, you had to kind of guess. And we can talk, we'll talk, I think, more about some of the other stuff after. But man.
So it just kind of really, by the next year, so between that year and the following year, which was 96, and that was the first year they had Harryhausen at the hotel they're in now. I decided I loved it so much. I started saving $20 a week. I kid you not. I would cash whatever I do with my paycheck, and I would take $20 and I would stick it in a drawer. And
I did that too.
all my singles, I would throw all my singles in a stack at the end of the week if I had singles, and I was just throwing singles there. So I ended up going to the next one with about $1,200. And
I think, dude, it's so weird how our stories line up. That next one after that, and we'll talk more about that later too, but I think I had about that much too. And it was because I was working at a hobby town in Bloomington, and I would take like $50 out of each check. I'm like, I'm going to Wonderfest, and save it. Same thing.
And that was the first time, and see, no one's going to believe this. And I should have pulled that picture out. I actually entered the contest and won a certificate of merit with Nestor the Wonderfester. I have it somewhere.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. Okay. And I also, by that time, I was hooked in. I mean, I bought a lot of kits in a short period of time, and a lot of them, I had bought a few. I believe I had the, if you want to go to the next picture, I believe that Joker had come out already. And I remember looking at that, and that's still one of my favorite garage kits of all
Yeah,
time. It's to me, it's perfect. It's you
I
know,
agree. In the
and
pantheon of kits, that which we're gonna get
yeah.
there one day too. That show,
But
but yeah,
so I had bought some garage kits. I had a Billiken Predator, and I actually had prior to going to that first Wonderfest, I had found the King Kong Super Tiny Terror at a toy show in Chicago, Kane County, and I bought that. So I had some, and I said, "This is a good hobby because you can build and paint the stuff, and you don't have to worry about the value."
yeah.
Yeah, and so there you go. And I'm still working on that stuff that I bought at that first one, and we're getting there. And I will say too, Mike Parks, even then, was awesome. He was, I was used to comics shows and stuff like that. So, I was used to the bartering part of the thing. Hey, if I buy 5 of these, will you cut me a deal? Blah blah blah.
See, I'm the opposite of that. Like, I'm so afraid to talk to people that I just go, I go up and give them the money and walk away. I would never talk to anybody. But
So, and then that's the story. Here we are, Gremlins in the Garage,
yeah,
Gremlins chat.
you know what? Let's pause there and we'll line our stories up there. So
Okay,
we'll go back to, I think that was your last picture, right?
that was my last picture.
Okay.
Yes, no more pictures of me from 1989. I promise. Although everyone, please notice how skinny I was.
You were skinny. What happened? Portillo's in the
Well, people ask me a lot what happened to that skinny guy, and I said I ate him.
you ate them with some salt. Oh man. For those of you, please, if you ever get a chance, go. Are you kidding me? Go.
Never far away.
Oh my God. Go watch Scott eat a hamburger plain and watch the amount of salt he puts on that thing. It is, oh man.
It's a sprinkle of salt.
How your heart hasn't exploded, I have no idea.
That's right. And when the bill comes,
Oh,
watch the teacher try to figure out the 15% tip in
hey,
his head.
smartphone?
Okay, the 20% tip.
Smartphone does it or the girlfriend does it? And I go, what's so quicker? So my story is very similar, I think. I've told this story before in different places, but I think this is, I don't know. It feels weird. It's hard for me to talk about myself. So anyway, the Aurora kids, as young as I am, you hear that? As young as I am, Aurora kids still played a huge part in where I came from too. So my uncle Bob had built them when he was a kid, and he's in his late 60s now, early 70s. I can't remember. Like, so he's right up there. So he built him when he was a kid, and he left him at my grandma's house when he moved out. And when I would go to my grandma's for the weekend or for the night, she would just kind of bring them out once in a while and be like, "Hey, look at this cool," because she knew I was into monsters, and that's kind of, I mean, I grew up watching different but the same stuff as you. Um, I was huge into Ultraman as a kid. Like, that's one of the things that sticks out in Godzilla movies. Those are two things that are stuck in my head as memories of watching Ultraman across the street at my neighbor's house and just be like, monsters, monsters, monsters. And then um, Svengoolie was on all the time. So I watched a lot of the old classic horror movies and the stuff that you're more into probably, and still loved it. And my Uncle Bob had all these kits, and she would, I remember her just unwrapping them in newspaper and setting them out on the kitchen table. And it was the same thing. There really weren't action figures at that time, because this was, I'm guessing, late 70s, early, because it was in the Cicero house. So I'm late 70s looking at all these old creature horror monsters, the Aurora ones. And I'll show you, because
Which photo do you have up?
so I have right now, I have the Dracula, the Wolfman, Phantom, and the Frankenstein. These were his kits. He gave them to me a couple years ago. So I have them in a special case up in my room. So I have them. These are the ones I looked at. He still gave them to me in the same boxes that they were in when I was a kid. So this is one of those things. When I saw these, I was like, man, these are so cool. and I wasn't allowed to touch them when she would bring them out. I didn't get to play with them. I would just sit there and stare at them. So I mean, I would move the like lizard around that's on the one base for the creature, or not move it around, but I remember that was like loose, so I could kind of look at it and see that, and I loved all the little details of those things.
So I'm looking at the first one with the Frankenstein and
Yeah.
the Phantom, and I love Uncle Bob's choice of pink for the
I know.
tombstone. This is, of course, this is the charm of a lot of it.
And you can tell those are those tester enamel paints, like those
Oh,
are
yeah. And I'm wondering if that Frankenstein is gray plastic. I'm sure it probably
yeah. Oh, it is, because the part of it's not painted, so it's gray plastic. Yeah.
Okay. And I love the that's my Facebook Messenger that I didn't turn off.
Oh man, you're fired.
I love the Frankenstein sweater vest look.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
You know,
So and then
well,
in
what's
the next
amazing to me is that these kids still have all their fingers.
the
After
only one
all
that's
this
missing
time.
a finger is the creature. He's missing a claw on one of them.
Okay,
I
so
just
I'm
pulled
gonna
up
go to
the
that
other
next
picture.
photo because I want to see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's missing a claw on one of them. I think I.
And he's missing the skeleton hand. I'm
Yeah.
zooming in. The
Yeah.
skeleton
So I mean,
hand.
they're all missing some parts
Yeah.
still, but I was totally. But this was my introduction. I'm like, what? There's a model kit.
Oh wait, so your skeleton hand for the creature is on your mummy, you knucklehead.
Oh, is it? I don't know. See, that's where I
Yeah.
don't know.
You see that skeleton hand?
Oh.
That belongs on the creature base.
All right, I'll move that. See, this is why you're on the show. You're the historian.
Yeah, I'm the historian.
And then the bottom picture with Godzilla. Well, one of the bottom pictures. Godzilla.
So is that a
Superman.
pink Godzilla? Is that a
It
fuchsia
is a
Godzilla?
it is a very fluorescent greenish Godzilla with
So that's
blood all
probably a
over.
glow Godzilla then. It was probably a glow kit. Because the originals were the purplish fuchsia.
Oh no, you know
And-
what? I'll go and look. I don't. It's painted that color.
Yes.
I don't know what
Yeah.
the. I'll go and look at what the color of the plastic is. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, and if you look at the bottom, if it's fuchsia, it's an original.
It's an original,
And I know
okay.
that's an original Superman just by looking at it.
yeah, that one. There's some funny stuff about. This is the first model kit I remember building, which is this Dimetrodon. From I don't know. I know I got it at Toys R Us. I still have it. It's missing its tail. But this is the first time I was probably first or second grade, I'm guessing. My first miniature I got was in kindergarten.
Can I ask what's behind that kit, please?
What's behind that is a deer skull and a Cthulhu sculpture that I made on my coffee table. So, yeah. But my dad, he raced RC cars, and a hobby shop that you're familiar with, Don's Hobby World, in Glenwood. And so I would go over there all the time while he raced his car, but in the front of Don's was miniature, like, you know how they have the display case. And there was a Godzilla kit in there, a Godzilla miniature, I think, or something, because I remember it being small. And seeing that and being like, oh my God, I want to do that. And then they had all the miniatures. This is right around late 70s. Dungeons and Dragons was getting huge. So I just got into painting miniatures forever. Which brings me to... And I like dinosaurs. Which brings me to, after like you go in Don's to buy miniatures and paint all the time, I saw the Screamin' kits and I saw the Hellraiser kit. And this was like around 92. So I was painting miniatures through all that time. I think I have some of those. No, I didn't. But I saw this Pinhead kit sitting there, and I love horror movies. So I was like, what is this? I didn't know they made stuff like that. And I didn't realize it was that big because I was so used to painting stuff that was 2 inches tall. And so I picked that up. That was 92. I remember painting it my senior year of high school. My thumb hurting from pushing all of those pins in his head, not knowing I should soften it up with a hairdryer first to try and get those things in there. And yeah, ever since then, and then that was it. I just started buying model kits, and I kind of put the miniatures away till recently, and I got back into that again.
When was the last time you dusted that Pinhead, if I could ask?
I know it was Father's Day weekend, I think.
Huh.
In there.
Okay.
Those cases, and then I had to move, so I did have to. It's that one. I think I've run underwater instead of trying to dust.
Oh, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I kind of found between. I don't know how I found. I was going to comic book stores all the time, and I found Model and Toy Collector. Around the same time, I found that Pinhead kit, and then I found Terry's book, and I was like, "Holy cow! There's this whole world out there of amazing garage kits that I had no idea about." And it really just kind of from there, I saw an ad for Wonderfest, and the rest is history there. And at the same time was Gremlins in the Garage, which I want to talk about for a minute. That is really how I made a lot of friends in this hobby that I still talk to now, like Larry and Lance and Dan, and I'm saying enemies, but I mean those were the days of. It wasn't a message board; it was the crazy email list that you got on, and there was 100 emails in your in your message box when I got, dude.
Yeah.
When I'd get back from, because this was college, that was like what, 94, 95 ish. When I get back from class and there was like tons and tons of email, I'm like, oh my God, what happened? And it was either you or Bulkley fighting with somebody. Just kidding.
Wasn't me all the time.
Just kidding. So there was that, and that's how I found Wonderfest. And then we're tied. We've been going every year since that year. And it's funny how I don't know, I flew under the radar a bit, but I've been going there every year since 1995, which to me, there's not a lot of people that can say that. Like everyone kind of takes a year off, kind of does this, but both of us have done that, and we've seen a lot of stuff, I think, which gives us a
95.
I was. You're asking me math questions.
What year were you born? I'm sorry. I'll do the math.
74. So I was.
21.
I had just turned 21. Because
Wow,
the
so
first.
you were-
That's right. Because the first. No, I was 20, I think. Because the first Wonderfest, I was 20. Because we couldn't get into the bar to drink. And we had to go to. We stayed at the Colonial Inn on the other side of the river. And snuck into the hotel bar there. And it was this, oh God, scary hotel, the Colonial Inn.
Well, the first year wasn't 95. Wasn't at the hotel it is now.
Right. No, it was at the other one, the Holiday Inn or whatever across.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a Holiday
I'm
Inn
talking
anymore.
across. We stayed at the Colonial. It was across the river in Indiana. We
Oh,
stayed.
jeez.
We didn't even stay in Louisville. We stayed across the, because we didn't even know what we were expecting. I drove down with my friend Tom, and we just kind of were like, oh, let's go check out this show. We'll get a hotel somewhere. And then we're like, oh man, this was cool. And the first kit I got there was the Kyoto Zaram, and I bought it from Terry. I think I told him that before. And that's the first interaction with Terry. It was a short conversation, which is strange.
Good luck with that now.
And after that, I mean, I'm a builder and painter. I'm the opposite of you. So I was interested in that contest. I wanted to get a gold medal. I wanted to get a gold medal. And it took me 10 years. It was 2006, I think, when I got my gold medal. And I always said, if I got a gold medal, I would stop. And I did. I have not entered that contest since. Part of that's because I ended up writing for AFM, and we weren't allowed to enter the contest. So, and I didn't even, once I got that gold medal, I was good. And I mean, I had entered some contests up at Resin Heads and got a gold and silver there. But I mean, unless you got that gold at Wonderfest, you have to get a gold at Wonderfest. If you're competing in those contests, that was the end all be all. Now to go for like a best of show or something, no way. I'm not. I mean, I'm an average guy. I don't expect to ever,
Did you show that picture of you getting that first certificate of merit?
Oh, yes. Let me. Sorry, everyone. Let me click through these pictures. There it is. There's me getting a certificate of merit. That I think is the year, the Harryhausen year. I think that is.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And I'm loving the hair.
Yep.
And the necklace.
Okay.
And
I got a cool ring. I made that ring in jewelry class.
okay.
And that was the cool thing then too, is Bob Burns passed out the awards.
And the sweatshirt that's 2 sizes too big that would probably fit me now.
I invented thumb holes, by the way.
And I want everyone to know that Jason's parents are not poor and destitute. That I'm sure he had better clothes than he's wearing right there.
No, that shirt, that was my favorite. That was my Whoopi shirt. I wore that.
That looks like a comfy shirt.
It was.
So let me ask you a Wonderfest question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because while you were talking about this, something came to my mind. 25 Wonderfest under your belt.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy.
do you have things that you remember that you wish you would have done or bought? Any regrets where you look back and said, "Man, I've never had a chance to buy that again, meet that person again." Do you have any regrets
Yes.
like that?
Yep. Yep. And I know, and I'll ask the same question of you here in a second. Mine are kit purchases. Like
Mhm.
that, I think it was that year with the Harryhausen Kit Boy. Remember Kit Boy?
Mhm.
So that's the year, and I have it sitting up there because it broke in my move, and I stripped it and have to repaint it. And I bought my OIP future. I'm a big future guy, and that's kind of what I want to talk about too. Our differences, I think, complement each other well for this show because you're more classic monsters. I'm more original design stuff, and but we do have a lot of overlap, like Godzilla and other things. So, but I'm a big future. Like that was I wanted every future kit that was in that show, and I knew they were expensive, and that's why I was going with that much money. And when I went there, Tom and I kind of split the future kits at that one show, and he just got rid of it too. And I think I don't know who he gave it to, but he had Vampu, which is a crazy expensive kit now, and he had a bunch of other future kits there. And I did end up getting a damaged Ram. I have it right now from Dan. But there was I wanted that Vampu really bad. There was a couple other future kits that day that I kind of passed on. That I just was like, no, I'll see him again, and you never did. That like there was that time, there was that sweet spot of future of like 94, 95 where they just kind of didn't show up anymore. And I wish I had bought more that year. The other one is Gray Zone. The guy that did Louis, well, or no, not Louis. What was his name? Gray Zone. The guy that did all the skulls.
Mhm.
Um, there was a couple skulls he had. I did get the Gremlin skull back then, but there were other ones like that big alien queen skull he did and some other stuff. I really kind of wish I got some of those. Um, I wish I would have got an autograph from Harryhausen, but I'm not like I'm not an autograph guy. But now thinking back, I think the coolest part of that show is he sat behind Tom and I when he was showing, or no, this might have been the second. No, it was the first time when he was showing his fairy tale animations, the stop motion stuff that he did, the Mother Goose or whatever that was,
Right,
and he
right.
sat directly behind Tom and I while he was watching it, and I was like, this is so cool. But I never got an autograph because I've never been like, hey, I just want you to sign this. I was always been like, hey man, thanks for making cool stuff, and walked away, kind of stuff. But how about you? What's your biggest Wonderfest regret?
Well, it's funny because you kind of walk into it with what you just said. I'm not a big autograph guy. And that first Wonderfest we were at, Ed Big Daddy Roth was there.
Yeah.
And he was selling
And I don't even think
merchandise.
I don't think because of my age, I didn't understand who he was
Right.
or the significance of him
Mhm.
being there at the time.
So Ed Big Daddy Roth was there, and he was selling. I want to say they were metal, maybe they weren't. Rat Finks, and they were like signs or whatever, and they were good size. And he was autographing, and they were $25. They weren't a lot of money, but and I'm not a cheap person, but I cheaped out. I'm like, yeah, I don't need it. Okay, and um, I don't know what year he passed away, but he never did Wonderfest again, so I never got another chance for that. So that's a regret. Ben Chapman, although I met Ben a few times, I played the Creature from the Black Lagoon slot machine in Las Vegas with Ben. So I played the Creature from the
That's
Black
pretty
Lagoon
cool.
with the. Oh yeah, he grabbed me. We were in a group of people, and he grabs me and he says, "Hey, come here." And Ed Valkley was there, so Ed knew him. And like I'm like blah blah, and if anyone ever saw Ben Chapman, well, a lot of people, of course, have. He walked like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay, like when you saw him walking, you're like, there's no doubt in your mind this is a Creature from the Black Lagoon. So he grabs me and he says, "Hey, come here." He pulls me over to this slot machine. He goes, if anyone's ever played this one years ago, I don't even know if it's still out there. It's one of those video ones that has like 100 pay
I've
lines and
seen it.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
And he says, "Do you have any idea how to play this?" I said, "Ben, I have no freaking idea
I
how to
don't
play
either.
it." So he says, "Well, let's see what we can do." So he pulls 20 out and he throws it in the machine. And he's spinning the thing and he's like all of a sudden you'll get a match and they'll show a video from the movie and you're like, did we win? And the numbers are going up. I said, I guess so. I don't know how or why, whatever. So we burned through his 20 and we're laughing so hard that I threw 20 in it and we burned through my 20 in another 5 minutes. But the memory is I played the creature from the Black Lagoon with the creature of the Black
That's
Lagoon.
pretty cool.
I don't have one photo with the guy. I never got his autograph. I never, and I remember he was at Wonderfest, I think, the next year. And I reminded him of that. He remembered, yeah, we lost our ass on that machine. He said, so I kind of wish I would have got Ben's autograph. That being said, I do have Harryhausen's and I do have Basil Gogos only went 1 year to Wonderfest. And Basil Gogos to me was a guest that was an awesome guest. It was a good crossover because of Famous Monsters and Basil Gogos. And it's like, this was an awesome guest. I bought some prints from him and took a picture with him. And I took a picture of Thad with him. And I think Thad took the picture of me with him. And a very nice man. And I love his work. And so I was able to, get that, get some stuff there. But, and another one that's not a regret was the last time Dave Cockrum was there.
Yeah.
And Dave, I guess, did artwork for Aurora back in the day, which early on I didn't know that. I knew Dave from comic collecting. And I asked Dave to sign a Marvel Masterworks I had, which had his art in it. He helped create the new X-Men and Nightcrawler and stuff. So I asked him, would you do a sketch of Nightcrawler for me? He says, yeah, leave it here. Come back in a little while. So I came back and he handed it to me and, he opened it and he showed it to me. And I asked him, how much do I owe you, Dave? And he said, no, you don't owe me nothing. Thanks. And I think he passed away then a year or two after that. So
you're the
I
Grim
have a few
Reaper, man.
regrets, but I have a few little cool stories that I'm glad I got.
Yeah.
Yvonne Craig, I wish I would have gotten her autograph. But I hate paying for autographs, because I'm not an autograph guy. So
yeah,
I'm with you there. Kit wise, do I have any regrets of anything I didn't buy? Yeah, I wish I would have bought more Janice stuff. Anything I never bought, I was always able to get. So it's hard to say I have a regret because I was always able to track it down. After the fact, one of the last things was a Sean Nagel sculpted a lion kit, and I was able to procure one finally. And that was a big regret I had for a while that I never bought that from him direct.
The only conflict we ever came into was over Rick Cantu's Fish, right?
Yeah. That wasn't much of a conflict. You cheaped out, and I bought it.
Out, and you got it. And yeah, it will be mine.
Yeah, you're hoping I drop. So it's like, I want the fish.
How's that kidney feeling?
Yeah. Wish death on me.
I'm not wishing death. I'm just asking. How's it feeling?
You're just hoping. I'm not wishing. I'm just hoping.
No. So after Wonderfest to this point, you started. When did you start? We're getting a little long here, but when did you start casting? When did you decide, hey, I want to be a kit producer?
Oh, I never wanted to be a kit producer.
Right. That's
so, in 1989, when I cast those King Kong Thronesters and the Godzilla's go-karts, I had
how much hell did you catch for that?
None, because back then it wasn't an issue. Okay, and when I say it wasn't an issue, and it's almost still not an issue when you talk about Aurora stuff, there are those that'll say it's an issue. That's the one gray area for me that I look at it and go, whatever, but so I did that, and that was early on. That was the late 80s. And why I cast those was because at the time, I was just starting working, and I was young, and I wanted these kits, but I had nowhere to pay for them. So this was a good way to pay for the kit. I was selling these kits. They took 6 hours to make. It took 6 hours to make one go-kart or Thronester. They would take 6 hours, and it was primitive for the time. It was primitive casting. So there was that, and then I don't know how I got into just
Now, when did
casting.
Moohead start? Like, what year was that?
Well, I technically didn't start. I did a few kits that I would sell. Um, Calvin and Hobbes that I did, and sorry, Boy and Tiger that I did, and some other thing. And I would sell those, but they were really small, just projects, just for fun. And my friend Matt Mannett and I decided we wanted to do what we wanted to do a King Kong. As a King Kong freak, I never wanted, I like King Kong kits, so I'm very finicky about the ones I do have. And um, Jeff Taylor had done a Mighty Joe Young. It was studio scale. It was beautiful. I said, man, we need a King Kong like that. So Matt and I were going to do a King Kong, and it started out we were going to do a 12-inch King Kong. And about the same time, he called me up, and we'll do this on a show because Matt's agreed he'd come on a show, and we could tell the story of the King Kong kit. But he called me up and says, "What do you think about doing an 18-incher?" And we were both thinking the same thing at the same time. So we decided to do a studio scale, and I built a Rotocaster, and kind of took off from there. I mean, there's not a lot of kits in the line, and it's I kind of do it when I feel like it. And, I know there's people out there that want the King Kong now. I have this big Luna that I'm still cleaning up that we're gonna get cast and get those out. But yeah, being a kit producer, especially setting up at Wonderfest at a table, you're stuck at the table, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate being stuck at the table. So, like on Sundays, if I have a table, you'll see me not there half the day because I'm running around on Sundays. Okay, because I hate being at the table. And I used to I would share a table for a couple of years with Rob Madison and Chris Gerke, so that we could at least take turns watching the table.
Yeah.
And, disappear.
So, like around that time when you were working on that kind of stuff, I had wrote for, I don't even know how. I think Thad got me into to write for Ed Bulkley for Creature. What was it? His model magazine. Oh my god.
Was it? Oh god, now I can't think.
Yeah, we're both we're losing our mind. I have copies.
Was it Model Maniacs?
Model Maniacs. Oh my god.
There
What
you
was
go.
I thinking? I was thinking of the next thing. So I wrote for him for like 3 issues, 4 issues. He didn't stick around long doing that. So I wrote for him. And then I ended up writing for Sean Coates for Creaturescape. That's what I was getting too confused. Which was he was doing an all like computerized digital magazine that you would buy the CD-ROMs for basically, or CDs, the files.
Oh wait,
do you have it?
Wait.
Yeah, I have mine somewhere too. Yep, there we go. Those were cool. I thought Sean had done. Yeah, mine's in there. I think that might be
issue
mine.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, those are cool things. They were ahead of their time. They really were. And I think if they were done now, I think it would go. There'd be a lot more tools to that. And around that time, I decided to try and do my own website. What else?
Hold on, there's more. Number 4.
Yeah.
And number 5.
Look at that, number 5. So yeah, I mean, there were some cool things at the time, because 6. Yeah, he did a lot. Sean's a good guy. I miss seeing him around shows. But I think that was kind of the precursor. That was right before Facebook and MySpace took off. So you really didn't see a lot of people doing stuff online. I had tried to do my own website. It's still up there, wasteyourlife.com. I haven't done it. I am terrible about updating things, which is why I'm trying to really...
Writing that down. I've not ever been to that.
Wasteyourlife.com. Yep. And that came from my dad saying you're wasting your life all the time with this stuff. And that was like 98 when everyone was buying websites. So I did a couple articles on there for myself. And then after I won that gold medal in 06, I ended up writing for AFM, and that's where I am now.
Did he disappear? Is that kind of what happened? Did he kind of disappear?
I still see him on Facebook once in a while, but I don't think he's doing model stuff.
I'm just trying to remember if people subscribed to that and never finished it off, and what happened. it couldn't have been too big of a hot button thing because I don't remember. Maybe someone can comment and
Yeah,
remember
I
what
don't.
happened. It's
Sean
interesting.
Coates, if you're around, let us know what you're doing.
I've seen Sean's name, so
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe it wasn't a controversy. I could be
No, I don't
completely
think
wrong.
so. I think he just kind of faded away because it wasn't doing well because people just weren't. It wasn't like, I don't know, kind of like magazines now. They're not doing well.
So what's
Hence-
funny about those is I know you're not going to believe this. I've never watched those. I found those recently, and I brought them up here to see if they'll load in my new computer.
All right, you should watch those because there's some nuggets in there, I'm sure, of some past stuff. But that kind of brings us to modern times and this. So I don't know. This is basically the crown on all of that. Hopefully, that our stupid model lives have brought us together to do this show, and it's I don't know. It's a good base. That's why I kind of wanted to do this episode, get it out of the way, kind of give everybody a little history of where we came from and why we're doing this show. We love
Then
models.
let's be honest, we didn't have a lot planned for this one. So I mean,
That's not true. We have stuff planned. He's lying. We needed to do this. I think people. I know we're boring. We're not out. I mean, at least I am. Scott tends to have a fan club online, and
I'm a kinder, gentler Scott.
you are a kinder, gentler Scott. But there's still like that Toys R Us story. Like I think there's things in our story that resonate with everybody else, and that's kind of what I want everyone to discuss in the comments this time. Is tell us your origin story. Where did you come from? How did you get into models? Same thing, Aurora like us. When did you come in? What'd you find? I'd love to hear that stuff. And it's cool to see the similarities between everyone and the differences.
What's always been funny to me too is 25 years we've been going to Wonderfest. Probably only been hanging out the last
10,
maybe not even that many.
No, it's 10.
Now, keep in mind, we lived within 20 minutes of each other this whole time. Okay.
Yeah, well, when I lived in the city, it
Right.
was 20 minutes. It doesn't matter.
Okay, you work down here.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
that's true.
Okay, we've never driven to Wonderfest together. We've never.
I don't want to be in a car with you.
Wonderfest together, and I wouldn't room to Wonderfest with you after that one story.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that it kind of took us this long to I gotta hate to use the word hook up, but hook up in that we've now been to each other's houses numerous times. We've done some hobby shop runs. We've gone to a few shows.
Yep.
It
is strange. It is strange.
And it's a shame. I always say the Jersey guys that, and the guys that run Jersey Fest, Rob Saloni and Saul and Kenny and those guys. Man, it's great that they hang out together and they, they all have this common interest and they hang out together. And I wish we could get that. I know there's enough Chicago area modelers to do this. And it would be awesome. Maybe we could do a roundtable. We could just film, if we could get enough guys to come and do it, and do that kind of thing.
Well, I was thinking two things, and not to brainstorm on live on the show.
Not to brainstorm on our own show.
I think we should have a barbecue at some point with all of us. And you had brought that up before. But the thing I was thinking we should start doing in terms of Model Club, and not even live stream it, but just open it up and have a Zoom night and basically have a painting club. Like once every couple weeks, just say, hey, anybody that wants to join, here's the link. Grab a kit, start working on it, and be on Zoom, working on your model, just so we get to all kind of talk. You will have to paint something or show somebody how to build a mold. One of the two.
Paint my nails.
But yeah, no, I was thinking we were going to do that. I'm going to figure out the logistics in that so we don't just have random people showing into it. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we do need to band together. The only problem with the in-person stuff now is the obvious virus stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, I think this is a time to kind of grow that community, and I'm hoping we're doing that with this a little bit. We need more of a presence on YouTube.
I'm curious. We have 99 subscribers this last episode. So who will be the 100th subscriber?
Yeah.
I wish we had a prize to give you. but
to
we
figure
don't.
out who they were. Yeah,
But,
we will have prizes one day. I
Someday, hopefully
promise.
we will.
We will.
But it's we had a lot of views. I think our last episode was a lot of views. I'm sure we can thank Terry Webb for
Of course. Everyone
because
wants
I
to see
don't
what
think
the hell
they're
he wants
watching
to see.
us.
Yeah, no.
Well, no.
This one
after
will
this
tank.
episode, we're gonna
Yeah.
get like 12 views, and that'll be it.
It'll tank. We will.
So
if we
bear with us, everyone. We give us some suggestions, topics to talk about. Maybe.
Yeah.
Emails. We're still waiting on emails. Hey, Charlie, get out
Yep.
there. Send us be our first email, Charlie. Send us an email.
Yeah.
Although he did send
he
you
did
an
send
email.
us one. Yep. So
That's
it's
right.
modelclubtv@gmail.com is the email address. Website is just through Facebook. You can find Model Club TV. Like us there in both places. Subscribe on YouTube. Ring the bell for notifications. And I'm serious about the live modeling groups. I think that's going to be pretty cool when we'll start that. Yeah, we have no emails to talk about this week. I brought it up earlier. The comments, I love reading the comments. Keep those up, please. I'd like to turn that almost into a little message board for each show and just talk about it there. Talk about the hot topics. But
yeah, and I know Jason answers them. I answer them as well. Not all of them, but
that'll probably change a little bit when I go back to work. Man.
But
yeah,
we're hoping to have some guests. Hey, if you want to be on, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have guests.
We're not. Don't get us wrong. We're not sitting here begging for guests, but
we do have So we do have
Yeah.
some people lined up, and we're going to be getting into those. I just thought this episode needed to kind of happen just to get it out of the way, and we have some people lined up that we talked to, and they're willing to come on. We're waiting for some pieces to fall into place, and you'll be surprised with some of them. Or happy.
Right.
Happy?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and we have a guy that tried to kill me has agreed to come on, so we're going to try to get him on too because he's
who hasn't. I mean, that could be anybody. There's got to be more than one.
Dude, he tried to run me over with his van.
So
Okay.
we'll have to talk about this story when we have him on.
Charlie, you were out there. You saw it. You were in the car with him. You were almost an accomplice. Okay, I'm telling you, it's no.
So anyway, all that being said, now we solved the world's problems and bored the hell out of everybody. I think that'll solve us. Finish it up this week. We are working on again quality in terms of video and audio. It's coming. Bear with us. Stick with us. I think you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that we're going to have happen here in a little while. So hang in there. Nice talking to everybody. Scott, anything else? Closing comments?
Nothing else. I'm quiet this week.
It's been
I hate talking about myself, and then I ended up talking a
rough.
lot about myself.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry if I bored anybody. So
No, I honestly want to hear everyone's story. I love hearing how people found model kits because it's such a weird thing. It's like, who wants to sit around and do stuff like that? But I love seeing other people that are like us or hearing their stories. So,
and as we have guests on, get ready because you're probably going to be asked the question. As far as that goes.
Yeah. Well, I have other questions, but I think we should make whole shows out of them. Like favorite hobby memory. Like that's one of those things. I don't want to get into it now. We'll kind of leave that there, but like I want to know. Like there's parts like me winning that award at that stupid merit award was such a highlight. But anyway, I digress. We'll get there.
Jason and I have talked about top 10 lists. Hey, give us some top 10 lists.
Yeah, you know what? Start getting your top 10 lists together because we're going to put ours out there too. And we're going to have end of the year and all that sort of thing.
And it's going to be top 10 a lot of things. Maybe we'll do like a Letterman thing where we have a top 10,
Yeah.
Top 10 bad kits, top 10 plastic kits,
Yep.
top 10, kits we cut our finger on. I don't know.
I know one that I cut my finger on. So worst hobby injury. There we go.
There you go. Another subject. There you go.
All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. And take care.